five pillars of Islam, you were not there. So, what are the five pillars of Islam?
Shahada, Salah, Zakah,
Hmm.
Saum.
Sum, Hajj. So, I was explaining the five pillars of Islam, but we are not doing that page. That are the 10 points regarding this five pillars of Islam. So today I'm explaining this these points. So Rania, you can read the first and the second point.
Okay. To declare our faith in Allah Ta'ala and His Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. To read
Ground, you have to put four pillars. So your building will be built in a good manner, right? So without pillars, your deen will not complete it. Without pillars, you cannot build anything, right? So pillars are the important thing in any way, right? So what is the first pillar that I was explaining you? That is shahada. Shahada means the kalma. You are giving, you are declaring that ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wa ashhadu anna muhammadan abduhu wa rasuluh. There are two things. As a Muslim, we have to accept Allah is one alone, no partner with him. And the second point is Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam is his messenger and the last messenger. No one is coming after him. So this is the 2 points for the Shahada: to accept, to declare our faith in Allah and His Nabi. So this is the main important point as a Muslim. La ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah. It means that Allah is one. There is none worthy of worship except Him, and Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam is His messenger. So this is the final and full point. Full and final point for the Muslims. To the second point, the second pillar is Islam. For Islam is Salah. I was explaining the Salah importance. For example, anyone is died and he going into the grave. So when the angels are coming for the questions, so the like after the he is reading the kalma, because you are a Muslim, right? So you will read first in kalma. Then the first question is the angel will ask is about the swala, is about your swala, right? So you have to offer 5 times swala per day with uh, with your you have to offer in any way. You cannot skip your salah, right? And there is no reason for skipping the salah. If you are ill, you can sit and you can offer salah. You can lay down, but you can offer salah, right? So in any case, you cannot skip your salah. So to read the salah 5 times a day, this is the second important part and the second important pillar of Islam. Without salah, our deen is not completed.
Yeah.
Okay. Um. Okay. I think we stopped at hadith number. Yeah. Okay, we did this. So hadith number 8. Okay. Okay. So Abu Hurairah radiallahu anhu relates, Rasulullah sallallahu said, "Many of those who fast obtain nothing through such fasting except hunger, and many one performs salah by night but obtains nothing by it except the discomfort of staying awake." Okay, with this regard to the hadith, the ulama have mentioned 3 different interpretations. First, this hadith may refer to those who fast during the day and then for iftar eat food that is haram. All the reward for fasting is lost because the greater sin of eating haram, and nothing is gained except remaining hungry. Secondly, it may mean those who fast duly but during fasting engage themselves in backbiting and slandering others. Thirdly, the person referred to may be one who, while fasting, did not stay away from evil and sin. In this hadith, all such possibilities are included. Similar in the case of the person performing salah all night voluntarily because of the backbiting and lustful act, missing Fajr salat or keeping awake for show, his night of devotion goes underward. Okay, basically, it's just saying that if you're fasting or like you're praying or you doing any good deeds, it's all go or you're even your fasting, it goes to waste because you're doing other things like maybe ate something haram while doing iftar, and because of that, your whole fast is just wasted. Maybe if you prayed all night but then you missed something Fajr salat, or you you weren't or you stayed up to watch something, okay. So basically just you make sure when you're doing your fast or you're doing any good deeds in Ramadan that you don't do anything else after that will like basically void the whole fast, or not even your fast, just any reward that you get. Any reward that you get, and you use something later to you should do something wrong later, it'll just like basically cancel it out, and you'll be left with nothing. Okay, these are right. Abu Ubaidah radiallahu anhu reports, I have heard Rasulullah sallallahu saying, fasting is a protective shield for man as long as it does not tear up that protection. Okay, just like the same thing. So as long as you're not doing anything, you'll be shielded from it. Okay, you're not doing wrong, you'll be shielded from it. Protective shield here just means just the man protects himself with a shield. Similarly, fasting protects him from his well-known enemy, Shaitan. In other hadiths, we are told that fasting saves one from Allah's punishment and hellfire in the hereafter. Once somebody inquired from Rasulullah, what causes the fast to be rent? He replied, telling lies and backbiting. So telling lies and backbiting basically just destroys your fast. So make sure you're staying away from that. Because the shield that you have for your fasting, okay, it's protecting you from shaitan and stuff, and then all of a sudden you're backbiting and stuff and lying and slandering, and then all of a sudden the shield that you have is starting to break. Okay, secondly, one should guard the tongue against lies, unnecessary conversation, backbiting, arguments, and swearing. In Bukhari, we read that fasting is a shield for the fasting person. For this reason, those who fast should avoid all useless talk, joking, argument, etc. Should anyone pick an argument, then say, I am fasting. Okay? Just literally just say, I am fasting. In other words, one should not start an argument, and if someone else starts it, then two, one should avoid taking it up. When the person who starts an argument is an understanding person, then at least one should remind oneself that I am fasting. During the time of our Nabi Sallallahu, two women were fasting, suffered the pangs of hunger to such an extent that the fast became unbearable. Both were on the point of death. Okay, so those two women were fasting and it was so painful, and that they were almost about to die. The Sahaba then brought this to Nabi Sallallahu, telling them that they're about to die. Um, upon which Nabi Sallallahu said they fasted with halal food from Allah, but partook of haram food by backbiting other people. Actually, no, I skipped the whole line. Okay, wait. Brought this Nabi Sallallahu, so they told Nabi Sallallahu that these two women are dying. Nabi Sallallahu then said, "Who sent a bowl? He sent a bowl to them, commanding them to vomit in them. When they both vomited into the bowl, pieces of meat and fresh blood were found in it." Okay, so even though they've ate nothing all day, they were still, vomiting meat and fresh blood. So everyone was getting surprised, and then they were like, but they haven't even eaten. Their system said they ate in the properly halal food in the morning in Siri, but what they did wrong is that they were backbiting, and when you're backbiting, you're basically eating someone else's flesh. And from the above, it also becomes clear that by backbiting and fasting, the fast becomes so much more harder. For this reason, both women were near death. Okay, so we're in case which with other sinful acts and experience shows that for the faithful, God-fearing person, fasting is no hardship, whereas the sinful find it too hard to bear. Okay, so if you're just a normal person, you shouldn't find fasting hard, right? Fasting is just, you just do whatever, you get through it. But a sinful person, he'll find it very hard, and he'll find it uh like a burden. Basically, his fasting is just a burden for him. He's just like, okay, I have to fast because just because I have to fast. And it'll be so hard for him. You'll be constantly when's iftar time? When's iftar time? I can't take it and stuff like that. Okay. See, there's so many words. I'm just trying to see which one where to start reading from. Okay, worst of all is the fact that we do not even realize what backbiting is. Even when we suspect ourselves of this, we try to cover it up as a narration of some event. One of the Sahaba inquired from Rasulullah, what is backbiting? Okay, so he just asked, what is backbiting? Rasulullah said, to mention something about your brother behind his back, which he would resent. Okay, so saying something behind someone's back or someone's back does not mean that she's standing behind their back. It just means something that when they're not there. When you're talking about someone that they're not there, and not just talking about someone, talking about something that if that person was there listening to you, the person that you're backbiting about, right? If that person was there listening to you, he wouldn't like it. He would hate you for it. That Sahabi then said, and is it still backbiting if the thing mentioned above about him is really true? Now, Nabi Sallallahu said, in that case, if that which was mentioned is really true, it is precisely backbiting. But if what is mentioned is false, then you have in fact slandered him. Okay, so when you're backbiting, right, there's two types. One is slandering, one is backbiting. So when you're backbiting is saying something true about someone. We're talking bad about someone, but it's everything that you're saying is true. Talking about someone and you're insulting him, but all the insults are true things. That's actually how the person is. But then now you don't have anything to say to this person, but you want to talk bad about it because you don't like it. So you start making up things about his life that he's like this, he looks like this, he does that, all lies. Okay, so now that you're not just getting sin for a backbiting, you're getting sin for slandering too. So you're getting double sin for that, for lying and backbiting, basically. Okay. Okay. Nabi Sallam once passed by two graves. He asked on both the inmates of these graves. Punishment is being inflicted in a grave. That's what he said. One is being punished because of backbiting. The other because of not having taken precautions to stay clean when passing urine. Okay, so backbiting is that big that the person was getting punished in the grave, and the other thing is making sure that you're cleaning yourself when using the washroom. Okay. Um, okay. Thirdly, we should be careful that the ears are kept away from listening to anything undesirable, makruh. It is equally unlawful to listen to anything that shall not be said or said in backbiting. Both the backbiter and the one who listens to it are equal partners in sin. Okay, so even if someone else is doing something and you're like, oh, whatever, yeah, it's not like I'm backbiting, right? He's backbiting, I'm just listening to him. No, even if you're listening to him back, if you're listening to someone backbite, you're basically equally getting the same amount of sin. Because okay, if someone is backbiting, or the talk is, but if you guys are talking and the talk starts to like become into like a backbite type thing, just say something like, let's stop, we're fasting, or I'm fasting, let's stop. Or don't even say let's stop, just say I'm just saying I'm fasting. Or if you want to be like, proper about it, just say we're fasting, let's stop. Okay, we'll talk about it some other time. Well, I mean, we won't talk about it some other time, just say that so that you have to talk about it some other time. Okay. Fourthly, the rest of the body should be first of all, the rest of the body should be kept away from sin and unlawful things. Neither should the hands touch it, or nor the feet walk towards it. With the stomach, special care should be taken, especially at the time of Dar, that no such thing enters it from which there is any doubt of it being halal. When a person fasts and at iftar time breaks fast with haram food, he's like a sick person who takes medicine as a cure, but also adds a little poison which destroys them. Okay, so it's just all literally just what we talked about, just making sure that you're just keeping the rest of your body away from haram, and not eating haram at iftar time, because you're basically just poisoning yourself. Okay. Fifthly, after having fasted, it is not advisable to fill the stomach completely, even halal food after iftar. Food at iftar, because then the purpose of fasting is feeding. Fasting seeks to diminish one's carnal desires and increase one's faith and spiritual powers. For 11 months, we eat and drink freely enough. In Ramadan, this should be cut down to a minimum. Okay, we have a bad habit of filling our bellies at iftar to make up for what was lost, and again at Sahih in preparation for the day, thus actually increasing our average consumption. Ramadan for such people gives the edge to the appetite. Many such items of food are eaten that we normally do not eat at other times. This type of eating habit is completely against the spirit of Ramadan and true fasting. Okay, so there was basically okay. So literally, if Ramadan in a month where not you don't eat all day, okay, and you eat 2 times a day, okay, 2 times a day, and one is like in the morning, like once before Fajr, and once 2 times a day that you're eating, and you're fasting all day, right? And you would expect yourself to be eating less than what you normally do, right? Or maybe you're getting less. You will be expecting that you're losing weight. Sorry, you're like, okay, I'm losing weight, or I'm not eating as much as I did before, but you're actually gaining more weight and you're actually eating more in Ramadan, because the amount of that you eat at iftar literally makes up for like 2-3 meals itself. And then you have sehri, which just depends on the person. But iftar always, you're always getting types of food that you never even eating before in the whole year. Every day you're getting something new, maybe, or every few days you're getting something different. Okay. And that's not even the point. The point is that when you're eating, you fill your stomach so much that, because you're like, oh, I was hungry all day, and instead of doing this in Siri, people do this in iftar. like instead of like just they were just stuffed their whole food, after like literally 5 bites, they would be full. All that iftar in front of them, but after eating like a few bites, they'll just be full, and they'll just keep eating after that. Go pray Maghrib and then come back and then start eating again. Okay, so basically, just this type of eating habit is completely against the spirit of Ramadan and true spirit of fasting, because all you're doing is trying to stay away from your desires and increase, your worship and ibadat, but then you're just spending your time just eating. And also the time, because of you eating so much out of that, usually makes you like suffer a lot when praying Tarawih. Like it depends on what you eat, and how much you eat. If you eat too much or eat something like that, it'll like burn your stomach, basically, like spicy stuff. Doing Tarawih, it becomes like a pain to like literally just stand there for a long time. Okay. Okay. Imam Ghazali asked the same question. When the object of fasting is to conquer our carnal passions in opposition to Iblis or Shaitan, how can this possibly be done by eating excessively after? Because he's asking, because of like, if we're doing it for this reason, how is it possible that this is being done by eating too much at iftar? Actually, in that case, we have only altered the times of eating and not really fasted. In fact, by having various types of delicacies, we consume even more than in normal times. The result is that instead of lessening the carnal desires, they are considerably increased. The real benefit of fasting comes as a result of actual hunger in the true sense. Nabi Sallallahu said, "Shaitan flows through the body of a man like blood, so close up his path by remaining hungry. When the body's hungry, the spirit receives strength." Okay. Okay. So when you're fasting, you're basically like the 2 times that you eat, right? Is you're basically just altering the times of your eating. Like you're kind of eating 2 times very closely to each other, and then you're not eating the rest of the day. Right? That's how it is. You eat in the morning, you don't eat the rest of the day, and then you eat a lot. You eat like basically 2 meals at once at like Maghrib time. Okay. But which usually is like just the normal thing that anyone would do. If you think about it, it's just that you're just spending a few extra hours during the day and not eating, but then you're making up for it by eating after Fajr, before Fajr. Like, tell me, on a normal day, who eats after Fajr or before Fajr? Sorry, who eats before Fajr on a normal day? No one does, right? You're sleeping. You wake up for Fajr, you pray, you go back to sleep. Okay, but that sari is basically the breakfast that you do at morning, which you could be at like either before school at like 7 a.m., 8 a.m., or it could be that breakfast could be somewhere at the time, like if you're not going to school, like somewhere like 12 a.m., 11 a.m. Okay, and then it's totally normal for you not to eat till like 8 p.m. Sorry, it all makes sense. It's just that the sari time is that just a time that you don't really do in a normal day. Okay. Um, and then the whole thought of fasting, like staying hungry for the rest of the day, makes you actually eat, like it makes you eat one, like sorry, actually makes you eat more than what you normally do, because you're like, I have to fast the whole day, I'm gonna be hungry, let's like stuff our stomachs as much as we can. And iftar, you're like, oh, I stayed up hungry, let's stuff I'm really hungry right now, I'm gonna stuff my stomach with everything I can. um Especially, and the biggest culprit to this to stay is like getting full iftar, or even sahri actually, but iftar more, because that's what matters. Because if you're stuffing sahri, it's more like it's better than stuffing yourself with iftar. And then stuffing yourself with iftar, it's mostly because of water. You would eat like a kajur, and then you would drink a glass of water, and you're like basically like half full already. And then the next like few bites of something else that you eat, you're completely full. Okay, so make sure when you're breaking fast that when you eat a kajur, right, or a date, just drink like a few sips of water, and that's it. Don't drink like a whole glass. Drink a few sips of water, eat something, and then drink a few sips again. Because drinking a whole glass will just unnecessarily make you full for no reason, and you won't be able to eat anything like properly that you want. Okay. Okay, same thing. It is written, do not excessively eat. Do not excessively eat as as this is the way to lose the objective of fasting. Alama writes, when hunger is really felt, the reward for fasting becomes definitely more. Okay, the more hunger you feel, the more reward that you get. Similarly, a feeling is developed for the poor and hungry ones. And Nabi Sallam himself said, Allah does not dislike the feeling of anything to the brim more than He dislikes the feeling of the stomach. Okay. On another occasion, the Prophet ﷺ said, "A few morsels should suffice, which can keep back straight. The best way for a man is that 1/3 should be filled with food, one third with drink, while the other third remains empty." Rasulullah used to fast for days on end without eating in between. So a few more. So this is how you should be eating, or at least try to eat. 1/3 of your stomach should be full. So basically, half your stomach should be full only, and quarter of that should be from not half. That's 33%. My bad. I'm tripping. So like basically, like 33% of it is your you know is with food. 33% of it is with water, and the other 33.3 is just nothing. Try to stay hungry. But instead, usually all stomachs are full by iftar. Um, let me just check what time. Okay. Yeah. The sixth point is that the fasting after one should always have some anxiety as to whether one's fast had been accepted by Allah or not. Okay, so make sure you're always like thinking about if your fast has been accepted by Allah or not. This should be the case with all forms of ibadah. One never knows whether some important part may have been left out, which no one notice was taken. One should always fear that Allah may reject one's deeds. Okay, whether you're praying, you're reading, you're doing any good deeds, you should be always thinking that maybe this hasn't been accepted. Because when you think like this, it makes you think about all the mistakes that you did, so that the next time you pray, you're like very cautious about like how you're doing it, and you didn't make a mistake, and you read more properly. Rasul said, "Many reciters of the Quran are being cursed by the Quran." He also said on the day of Qiyamah that one of those with whom Allah shall reckon first shall be a shaheed, martyr in the path of Allah. Allah shall call him and remind him of all his virtue which he shall admit. She shall then be asked, "What have you done by way of expressing gratitude for these favors?" The shaheed shall reply, "I fought in your cause till I became a shaheed." Allah shall reply, "Is it not so? You fought so that you could be called a brave man." And so it has been said, thereafter it shall be commanded that he be dragged face on the ground and cast into Jahannam. Okay, so it is said that a shaheed person goes directly to Jannah when he dies, right? But a person, he died while fighting. Sorry, we died in battle or died while fighting, or there's so many other ways a person can be shaheed. Shaheed is someone that just directly goes to Jannah after they pass away, for the reason of them dying, or the way they died. Sorry, is. So this person, he died, and like he died a shaheed, but then Allah Subhanahu wa Taala is saying that you only battled or died in battle because you wanted to show people how much of a brave man you are, not because to get reward, not to for my sake or anything. And then he'll be dragged to Jahannam. Thereafter, an alim, a scholar, shall be called. Okay. He too shall be reminded of their favorite and asked the same question. He shall reply, "O Allah, I sought to acquire knowledge, taught others. For you and your sake, recited the Quran." Allah shall say, "This is not true. You did all that merely that you maybe say that you are learned, and so has been said that it shall be commanded that he too be dragged face on the ground and cast in Jahannam." Okay? So even a sheikh, basically, like a person who's an alim, studied Islam for so many years, even him, he would Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala be like, "You only did it to show people that you're learned, that you know things, and you can you're like above everyone, basically commanding people about how to do things." And he'll be dragged to Jahannam too. Thereafter, a rich man shall be called after being reminded of Allah's favors and admitting them. In reply to Allah's question as to what he did to express his gratitude, you should reply, there was no worthy wherein I did not spend in charity for your sake. Allah shall reply, not true. You did all of that so that it may be said that you are a very generous person. Okay? All like all his donations, all his charity that he ever gave, he only did it to like make people think, say that he's a very generous person. And so it may be said that he shall be commanded that he too be dragged face on the ground, cast into Jahannam. Okay. So fasting person should not only be sincere but hope that Allah accepts it. Okay. So all these people here, they all did their things. They all did their what was the first guy? I forgot. It was a shaheed. He went out his way to die in battle. The next person went out his way to be a learned person in Islam, be a scholar in Islam. And the third person and teach people in Islam. And the third person was a rich person. He worked his way to become rich, and then he donated all his money. Was in charity all the time. But what he was doing wrong was the reason of doing all this stuff. All three of them, the reason that they were doing it was not because of reward or getting, or for the sake of Allah or anything. It was for their own, for their own selves. They were like, if I do these things, maybe people will think that, I'm this type of person. If I die in battle, people think I was brave. If I spend in charity, people will think I'm very generous. If I teach people and I'm just a scholar in Islam, people think I'm like very knowledgeable. See, so without any actual reason of them doing any of these things, they would actually be, none of them would have been accepted, and they would be thrown into Jahannam. Okay, so the above meant 6 things that we just talked about are all compulsory for all righteous people. So whether it's eating too much in iftar, if it's thinking about if your fast has been accepted or not, and yeah, mostly what we talked about today was just staying hungry, basically. Like, try not to fill yourself in iftar and sahur too. Try not to fill yourself. Just keep yourself so that what it says here is that 1/3 food, 1/3 water, and 1/3 stay hungry. So try to make it like that. You're just half, like 50% you're eating, or 50% you're eating, 25% that you're water, and the other like 25% just stay hungry, or just try to not keep yourself full. That's the main thing. Just try to not get yourself full. If you're trying to get yourself full, just do it in Sahih or something, because it's better just do it in Sahih, because you can at least stay alive for the other day, the next day, sorry, for the rest of the day. Okay. Okay, the last thing is the Quran commands fasting is prescribed for you. The commentators of the Quran say that this verse, it is deduced that fasting is made compulsory for every body part. Thus, fasting of the tongue means to avoid falsehood. Fasting of the ears means not listening to evil. Fasting of the eyes means not to look at any form of evil. And similarly, fasting of the self means to be free from all carnal desires. Fasting of the heart means casting out from it the love of worldly things. Fasting of the mind means avoiding thoughts about anything other than Allah. Okay. Okay, so the reason of fasting is, there's not just the reason of like fasting. You're only fasting to not eat all day. You eat all day and you're like, okay, it's fine, I'm done. You break your fast and then you're done. Okay, fasting is like, you have to fast your whole entire body and everything. Make sure you're not, looking at something that you're not supposed to during Ramadan, doing fasting. Making sure you're not listening to something, not listening to music or something while you're fasting. Making sure that you're not saying something like that you're not supposed to, like backbiting, slandering, lying. Yeah, and fasting is meant that you take everything out of like the things that you usually do and like in this world. You just take it out of your heart. and you avoid everything and you just focus on worshiping Allah, and then and not eating till the time of iftar. Eat iftar, make sure you don't eat it too much, and continue on with the rest of the day. And then eat also don't eat too much in the series. Okay. Okay, there we go. We're done now. Okay, so once again, the things that so once again, the few things that we talked about was that eating too much iftar and sehri is wrong. Um, and doing things without thinking about if it's been accepted or not, like making dua and making dua or praying, and then you have to think about if it's been accepted or not, because maybe all your things that you're doing hasn't been accepted. On the day of judgment, Allah will say that nothing has been accepted because you were doing it for this reason, or maybe you were doing something wrong while performing it, or anything. The next thing is that to fast is not just for fasting of the food, fasting for everything: food, eyes, ears, tongue. And also the other thing that we talk about is backbiting. Backbiting is, you already know what backbiting is, right? Like when you're talking bad about someone, and that's basically like eating someone else's flesh. But the person who's listening to the backbiting is also equally as bad. Can you remember that? That's what we said. Um. Okay, and the last thing that we talked about, actually the first thing we talked about, was that trying to stay away your best from eating something haram, right? Is eating something haram during iftar or sehri, because if you eat something haram in iftar, your whole fast, let's just say something that you're eating in fast is haram and you didn't know of it, okay? Because maybe one of the ingredients that you use, or maybe something that you bought from the store is and the food from the store or from a restaurant, sorry, is like it wasn't halal and you're eating it. Okay, that the whole fast that you ate for the night, for the whole day, will like just be voided. Like it won't even count. You just wasted your time by just staying hungry. And same with the whole night. You're praying all night and then you missed fajr or something, or any other thing that you missed or you didn't do or you did wrong. It just canceled out everything. Okay, and yeah, that was all that we talked about. All right. Subhanallah bihamdi, subhanallah bihamdi, la ilaha illa anta, astaghfiruka wa atubu ilaik, subhanallah rabbil izzati amma yasifun, salamun alal mursalin, walhamdulillahi rabbil alamin. Assalamu alaikum.